Tamra. I really like her. I also am biased because you've been telling me forever that that's your favorite. Two teas in a pod. I'm like, okay, so who's this Tamra that I get to meet now?
Hi.
Hi, friends.
Welcome to Overanalyzed.
Welcome to Overanalyzed. So, special edition.
Yes.
We are talking about The Real Housewives of Orange County, season 20, episodes 2, 3, and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we're doing this is because we're heavy on Bookgate. Pursegate. This purse that Carmella gifted. We're heavy on Vicki not liking new people. So it kind of fits. These were not to be continued episodes, but there's a thread between all of them that's still really good. So,
yes.
Dom, what do you want to overanalyze about episode 2? What was something that really stood out to you?
I don't know if it stood out to, well, it was what most stood out to me. I'm very intrigued what we're seeing between Tamra and Heather's relationship. I know the relationship dating back to when Heather joined the show. Like, I understand the history of it, which is what is actually making me upset with Jenn, because I'm like, girl, you weren't here. So you don't know their relationship the way that us, it's going to sound weird, us fans know it. Even in episode 1, when Heather was giving her speech at her party, and Tamra says, we're historical friends. And I'm like, yes. And Jenn's pushing this narrative a little too hard, in my opinion, that now it seems like it could be getting into Tamra's head a little bit. So and
Tamra's your fave.
I love me some Tamra Judge. She is probably my second favorite housewife of all time, right behind Teresa Giudice on The Real Housewives of New Jersey. We wouldn't have Housewives today if it wasn't for Tamra Judge. I will stand on that. And whether you like her or hate her, most Bravo fans, Housewife fans specifically, will stand on business and own that. But listen, I know exactly what Heather is trying to say, and I also understand Tamra's point of view. And I think, Jenn, you need to stay the fuck out of it. Point blank, period.
You can see it on Jenn's face that this is not either what she always does or that she is...
It's not.
She's uncomfortable because it's like you stepped in some mess and now you don't know what to do with it, and we can see it.
But it's not what Jenn does. This is her third or fourth, I can't remember which at this point. And I've seen this a little bit online, a narrative. Her bucking up and kind of like inserting herself in the middle of a storm is not what she's done since starting the show a few seasons ago. Like, that's not her MO. So my thought is she got a little more popularity because of her standing up to Tamra last season and really kind of owning that I think she's feeling herself this season, and that's why she feels like, you know what, I'm going to insert myself in this and this and that and speak about that and that. And it's like, that works in certain scenarios. That can also fall flat really hard, and I think we might see a little bit of that based upon like little previews I've seen here and there. Jenn, back down. So Tamra and Heather, they've known each other a long time. Whatever their dynamic is, let them figure it out. The moment Heather says some really horrible shit behind Tamra's back and then hugs her the next day, that might be a different story, but otherwise, leave them the fuck alone.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is my second episode meeting Tamra. I really like her. I also am biased because you've been telling me forever that that's your favorite. Two teas in a pod. I'm like, okay, so who's this Tamra that I get to meet now? I did not like Heather because it does look like she is being vindictive or like snarky and weird to Tamra, like by going back and saying all this stuff. I know I should be mad at Jenn, but I'm kind of like, Heather, but you did say some of that, and then but you are kind of spinning it, but you kind of did. So I am a compartmentalizer. Law school did that to me. You know, having friends in Ohio that were my best friends, but then being in Louisiana and having to develop relationships there, like I appreciate that, but that doesn't mean two-faced. And it doesn't mean playing both sides. It just means that, like, I can be close to you guys because of school, but also you don't skip steps either and be like, but I can't tell my other friends stuff either. It's like she's using it improperly, I would say. Maybe she's using it in the East Coast way.
I will say, on top of that, and this is not a pro-Jenn statement, however, I will say last season, Heather, in my opinion, was not backing her friend up at all. Tamra had a really tough season. She got pummeled by her, really the majority, if not the whole cast. And she had a tough time emotionally. Like Teddy, who she does her podcast with, was battling not just cancer, but she had like it was really bad. Like they thought like she wouldn't make it through. I'll just put it that way. She had brain tumors in her head. And so as a best friend to her, Tamra had just had an emotionally tough time. Like her mind is occupied by that and that emotional like roller coaster that a friend, would go through if their best friend is going through something like that. And the women, they really did not give her any type of grace. They want to say they did a little bit, they didn't. And Heather did no favors to her friend. Like she came really hard on her at times also. She says otherwise, and they can agree to disagree, hence why I go back to you let them figure it out. But Heather is no angel. Do not, let me not get it twisted enough that I just feel strongly like they need to work it out unless she does something very bad behind her back. Jenn needs to butt out of it, and Heather needs to speak on it herself to Tamra and not lie to her. What did you think about the Emily's drag bingo old lady party?
That was my favorite part. Okay, first of all, can we please go to Hamburger Mary's?
There's a few of them. Amazing. I didn't know there was one in Orange County, but like I haven't been to it, but there's one in LA that and I think it's West Hollywood that's pretty famous.
Yes.
I think there's one in Florida too, actually.
To Hamburger Mary's. I thought it was so funny. Tamra's outfit
I know.
Amazing.
Oh my
Like,
god.
the pins.
And her pubic hair is coming out of her diaper.
Yes.
I love it. It's on brand. I'll just say it is on brand for her. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and then I like Vicki's outfit was really funny. I thought Shannon's outfit was great, and so 2 episodes in, I would not have said that Emily was 50.
Oh,
and
like
what a reframing of age.
Yeah, she
for
looks
them
great.
To come dressed as the Golden Girls, and then she comes at 50 looking amazing in her little micro shorts, and I was like, if that's 50, I'm looking forward to 50. So I think the effect that Gina wanted for the party came across really, really well.
Sometimes...
And it was cool to see them all dressed up.
Sometimes these theme parties on Housewives, because they all have to do something instead of can we just get together and have a party? It can be so tiresome. This is one of those, I'm like, no, this is like a really cool and fun idea. And I did love it. I was like, I love that it was at a drag bar doing bingo. I love the costume of like, I loved the, what's the word I'm looking for? The juxtaposition of like, they're old and she gets to remain like hot and 50, whatever. Because she does look phenomenal. I'll give her that. So I did love it. I think this was such a brilliant idea.
So a little confession, I had to watch the episode twice because we get to see Gina and, well, I had to go down a rabbit hole of what Emily looked like in prior seasons to see why both Tamra was so shocked when she saw her. And she was like, oh my God, you look amazing in episode 1. And so I was like, wait, what happened? We talked about this a little bit. You said Emily was not obese by any means. She was regular American, large, a size 10, maybe a size 8. Now, I've been to Orange County. I've never been to LA because I'm afraid that I would be obese in that place. So to me, my favorite in California is San Francisco, where they don't care. You get to wear a big plaid shirt. You're fine.
Very gay.
Sorry, you guys, we love you in San Francisco. But I went back and I was looking at pictures and she did look good. Now, she does look different, right? Even a 30-pound change will look different on your body, but she looks amazing. She looks really, really good. And I think the party was really effective. And that was by far my favorite part of the whole thing. I like that she even took it in good speed, too.
Oh, I hope so.
Like, yeah.
But well, it's a silly thing.
Right?
Yeah, it's silly. It's like you have to. You have to take it. But you have to laugh at it. Like, how can you not?
I know. Because clearly they went through so much effort to even, like, be on theme and come dressed up and stuff. So it was cute. So let's get into episode 3, which is when Emily opens up the gifts that she receives at the party.
Yep, her dildo.
Her dildo and her $3,000 Dior bag, which
must be nice.
I do not own a Dior bag. Apparently, it's a huge deal. I hope they are selling out of these bags like crazy because it's being talked about so much. So.
I mean, it's probably not. I mean, they're designer bags. I mean, it's probably not. They probably don't even make them anymore. I mean, listen, there's only a couple things that stand up, but the main thing for me, too, is just Vicki initiating a lunch, sit down, whatever between Tamra and Shannon. That was the highlight of the whole episode because we know that Tamra and Shannon have had a very tumultuous, I don't even know how many years at this point. I guess since 2020, actually. So what's that, almost 6 years or whatever? To give you context, so when Shannon came on the show, she actually was like, the first person she had a scene with on the show was Heather. Because Heather went to her house because Heather was building a new home. Shannon had her developer, whatever, wanted to show her like certain things that Shannon already had because he built her house. And then Shannon and Tamara clicked right away, and Shannon and Vicki clicked right away. So they became fast friends. They were the Tres Amigas, whatever. Vicki went through some bad stuff that used to be Shannon and Tamara against Vicki. That's a whole thing for a few years. That is a whole episode to unpack. But basically, Vicki at one point had a boyfriend that faked cancer. It sounds horrible. It's impossible for me to unpack it without having tons of time. Basically, it was Shannon who went through a divorce. Tamara was there for her. Tamara and Shannon were really close, and they were not close with Vicki at all. A tides turned a little bit, and then Vicki and they all were friends. They became friends again, though Shannon did not want Tamara to be friends with her. So then there was a point when Tamara made up with Vicki, and Shannon was not happy about it because she thought Vicki should not be friends with Tamara at all. So then that was the dynamic. And then finally it did shift where all three of them made amends at a reunion. They all hugged, whatever. They became the Tres Amigas then. They were all back having a great time. It was the three of them. They did even like this Tres Amigas tour for a while. And then where shit started to hit the fan was Vicki got fired. And Shannon and Tamara was still on the show full time. So we continued to see them be friends. And then following that season, Tamara gets fired. And the rift really starts and I do remember at the time, they felt like Shannon didn't think that she needed Tamara and Vicki because she didn't stop talking to them once they were off the show. Somewhere along the way, Vicki and Shannon became friends again. Tamara would say like not the loveliest things about Shannon. Tamara gets back on the show. They kind of make up. They ease their way back into a friendship, and then that all turns to hell. And ever since then, it's been Tamara versus Shannon, back and forth. I would argue they both had a hard time taking accountability for their actions, though. In my personal opinion, I agree with Tamara that Shannon can, for whatever reason, not let this grudge go. Tamara
so
sometimes
the grudge is more than 3 years old. They're just grudging now to be grudging.
Yeah, it dates past what we're seeing. It dates past when Tamara was fired from the show. So that's what we're seeing. And so it just keeps getting uglier and uglier. Last season was really ugly. Tamara sometimes doesn't do herself favors. No, I'm not. So she's no angel, and she would tell you that herself. She has said that in interviews and whatnot. It's Shannon that deflects and is not want to seem to move on. Now, through all this, Shannon and Vicki had remained friends, and they got back together. They established a friendship again. So now we re-enter Vicki into the conversation now that she's back on the show. And then hence, and I should also mention, Tamara and Vicki stopped being friends a while ago when Shannon and Vicki rekindled their friendship because Vicki claimed she does not like how Tamara was treating Shannon. So Vicki and Tamara's friendship dates back to season 3 of Real Housewives of Orange County. That's how they have... Talk about historical friends. So their friendship is something that's a little more like, they say that they're like sisters. I agree with that. They can say shit about each other, come back, whatever. Shannon probably has an issue with that, though she probably will deny it. So now what we're seeing is Vicki, who is friends with both women, try to bring them together. So I think what her desire is to have the Tres Amigas back together, though Shannon does not. I'm not getting that vibe from her, but what we see in this scene is that they kind of ease some of the wrinkles, and I would like to see that. I like Shannon individually, though I've heard stories that she's horrible, like to production and not the nicest person. I met her at BravoCon. I have a picture with her. She was really lovely to me. She wasn't like the most nicest, but she was nice. She was polite. She was cool. She's popular and kind of iconic. I'm going to give her that. Like, she's a character. I like Shannon for the show. Though her shtick of like always falling down and fighting with Tamra is really getting old with me. So that's what I'm overanalyzing.
I don't mind Shannon. I asked you in our episode 1 recap. I was like, so she's giving me Kathy Hilton vibes, like kind of kooky, just kind of surprisingly got rich and is still herself. She's just with a lot of money. I don't mind her. I'm surprised that she's been on the show so long. Are there people who are like, what is she still doing here? Or people like love her?
Not for the same reasons. I think people like me, it's like I like Shannon on the show if she can get past the at this point, it's really annoying the way she does not want to try to get along with Tamra. Now, we're starting to see a different vibe, but it always wasn't like that. I feel like Shannon's MO was always like, poor me vibe. Not always, but like that's, if I had to put a bow on it, that's what I feel. I feel like there's always something. It's always like, ugh, just be quiet and just live. Like, I don't know. Like there's a place for her. It's just this, like, her not being able to move past her grudge, whatever it is, against Tamra. It's getting really old for me. And if it ever came down to it, it's like between Tamra and Shannon, hypothetically. Oh, it's Tamra all the way. Whether you like her or not, she moves she moves the story going for the whole show. She's great at her job, if you will. She's great TV. I'm always going to side with her. Even if I didn't like Tamra, I would always say that. I don't think it will get to that point in a roundabout way. What I would say, it's the only reason why I would say, like, I'm kind of wondering, like, what do you do next, like, on the show, like, why are you still here, is based upon her relationship with Tamra. Like, she needs to, like, let this go, and, like, I don't want to hear about it anymore. I'm really quite over it. I feel like I see Tamra make way more of an effort than Shannon. That's my personal opinion, though a lot of people want to disagree. That's fine. But she's great on the show. There's value to her on the show. Not like Emily, where I'm like, I don't know why you exist here anymore. Like, we need somebody else. I'm like, I don't know why you're here. I don't feel that same way about Shannon whatsoever. It's just more of like, I'm annoyed with her over the same shtick year after year, that I'm like, if you can't, like, change it up, girl, like, we need to replace you.
I think that's a really good point. And again, I am a fan of Tamra. I think between the stuff she was dealing with Teddy, the fact that she is a whole business and brand, right? We also get to hear Emily talking about how Tamra kicked her off the network, and Tamra's like, yeah, but
very fascinating,
back because you were getting no downloads. So I'm like, if I had to look at it objectively, which I can because I'm only 2 episodes in, Shannon, what do you have going on? Tamra's got a lot of stuff going on. Why don't you join the winning team? Like, why don't you?
That's a good way to put it. I agree.
So
I agree. Yeah. And this whole back and forth with Tamra and Emily with her with the podcast I'm like,
network.
Here's the thing. Emily's podcast with her husband, I don't listen to it. Maybe you will. It's lawyer, because they're both lawyers by trade. I think he's still an acting attorney, though she is not. It's all like that. It's like cases. I don't know if it's like, I can't remember if it's crimes or whatever, but so I've not listened to it. It's not my thing, but it's still on the 2 T's in a Pod feed. So I did agree with Tamara. I'm like, girl, you do, to Emily, like, you do you sound ungrateful. I'm not saying necessarily that you are, but you're definitely coming across ungrateful. And here's what, you are on their feed. That's just a fact. If I go on right now, and this is August 2026, 2 T's in a Pod, her podcast with her man is still funneled through her feed. And there's obviously a reason why. So that's no shade to you. That's just a fact. And the other thing I'll say to that, when it comes to Tamra and Shannon and now Emily, it's that joke that Tamra made to her about, like, okay, now I can let iHeart let you go to events again. That was fun. That's Tamra humor. Like, we know this about her. So, like, to have this contrived, like, outrage over it coming from Shannon, that's the kind of shit I'm talking about. It's like, wait a minute, now you're bringing up someone else's issue, though I don't know if it's a real issue, that has nothing to do with you and Tamra, and it's also something that was like, it was a joke. It had no depth in it. It's sarcasm. It's what you do, like with friendships. That they hugged while saying it and laughed. You saw it when they showed the clip of it. So for all those things to be said, that's also why like Shannon really can annoy me sometimes. Shush. Like keep to your issues with Tamra should be isolated to what your feelings are towards her and vice versa.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Shannon's okay. I haven't had much of a read on her, but that could be good, right? Jenn, I already have an opinion. Emily, I kind of have an opinion. So that could be good.
With Shannon, we'll see. Wait, maybe I'll try to find, like, I'll put together like almost like a guide or something, because it is worth watching her in past seasons, because she is a character. She's funny, especially watching the three of those ladies together. It is great TV, and maybe that's where a lot of it comes from. I want to see that again. It sounds like Vicki definitely does. I feel like Tamra does. Shannon keeps doing this, like, I'm just gonna keep, I'm treading lightly. I'm not friends with her, but this is the right path forward. It's those undertones of like, you're trying to say the loud part or the quiet part out loud without having to say it, of like, you do not want to move forward. So you say just enough where it's hopeful, but what you're saying really is like, I have no intention of being her friend again. So then just say that. Knows,
like, to stay on the show and relevant, she needs to be close, if not buddy-buddy.
Right? Then say that. Then you have to say that. Don't play a fucking game. We know better than that as fans. So, like, just say that. If that's how you feel, that's the problem with Shannon. If that's how you feel, just say it. Don't, like, play a game here. Like, I can't stand that shit.
Yeah. So, let's spin off into episode 4, where we get to see Shannon's house. Her house is stunning. Yeah,
well, it's rented.
She still has to pay some money for it. I thought her house...
Sure, okay.
I thought her house was stunning. I thought that was fun to get a look. And I also got to see more of Gina's house. This is what I want to overanalyze. Housewives and social media. So Shannon comes over to Gina's. Emily is there and they start making TikToks. Mm-hmm. Very cringe. And I like how Gina says social media is just looking stupid on the internet with your friends. Maybe. You and I don't necessarily do that. My feed is very personal for me. If I'm having a week where it is hard and I feel like a failure, all of my posts are, look at how badass you are.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And that's how I am. And then, like, sometimes it's just all my kid. And then so it's not that I don't want to look stupid on the internet. Stupid is subjective. Somebody will think that this is stupid. But when Shannon puts a pantyhose over her head, I was like, okay, that's not what Heather meant when she said there's so much money on the internet. Mm-hmm. Why aren't you on social media? But I kind of love that these women are hustlers and they are like, give me the cash, give me the coins everywhere. I think that is fascinating. Since recording this show with you, and happy 1 year in August 2025, but we released our first one in September. And so since watching The Housewives for a year now, I'm just like, they get paid from the show, and then they get paid on social media, and then they get paid for brands and books. And it's an empire.
Yes.
I had no...
Oh, yeah.
When I tell you, this was like not even on my radar because I didn't watch the show. And I'm just like, they are legit businesses. And it's so surprising to me. I love it.
That dates back to like Bethany days of Real Housewives of New York when it comes to like who made this a business. I think there was a time when they would just join the show. Some people still say this, that join it. I don't know if I believe them. Bethany Frankel joined the Real Housewives of New York with an intention, and that was to build a brand and a business. She didn't have the most success. And I'm not a fan of hers anymore. So please, anyone listening to this, I am no longer a fan of Bethany Frankel for many reasons, and that's an episode within itself. But there was a time.
Is she the skinny-licious lady?
Skinny girl, yes.
Skinny girl. Okay.
But there was a time for many years she was my favorite housewife of all time, and that has sadly and rapidly changed. Like, she is like a nut, and I don't know what happened to her. But with all things pushed aside, like, she had an intention, and she's always said this. Like, she was trying to build a brand prior to Housewives. This opportunity came. She looked at it as a business. Like, okay, I know what I'm going to do, and I love that. So that's when the game kind of changed in terms of utilizing this as a platform to either build or promote said business. And now we see that we see a new brand, like whether they're wearing their brand's hat, their merch, or whatever. Someone has a restaurant, socks, wine, purses. Like, it's like, it is a platform, and I do agree with you. I respect the hustle. I found this very cringy. I'm not going to lie to you. I agree with you. Like, this kind of stuff, the people that do the TikTok dances, when I see that, when I hear of these stories still, I think of the pandemic. When all that was like, I don't know if it was new, but it was certainly new to a lot of us that had nothing to do and were cooped up at home, and everyone's on TikTok doing trends and dances. Call me crazy. I thought we kind of moved past that. At least my algorithm does not show me that because I can't stand shit like that. The exception, and I don't even really watch that, is there are a few people that do like fashion is kind of their thing, and they do those really interesting transitions. Like, I watch this one guy, though I mildly find him annoying because I don't know like what his objective is, but I like his messaging, I will say. And he was doing like what I do appreciate is he shows the videos of him discovering a new transition of how to do something, and you kind of watch the behind the scenes of him trying to like, okay, how do I do this? And it was like him balancing a shoe on his foot, and he kicks it, and when it lands back down, then he's in his like fashionable outfit. So that is at least interesting, right? Of like, before you show, instead of just the product, he shows the lead up to it. In a separate video, you see the actual polished product. But that's the extent of like these trends or whatever that I see. But them doing this like shit, and like I think of like teenage girls on TikTok. I don't think of 40 and 50-year-old, 60-year-old women. I may get flack for this, and I really don't give a fuck. Because I'm all my first and foremost, I'm like, get your bag, make your money. I really don't care. As long as you're not hurting people, what do I care? But if you're going to put it on TV, I'm going to have an opinion about it, especially if I have a microphone and a podcast to talk about it. I find it very cringy to watch grown adults across the board do shit like this. I'm like, I could be wrong. I don't think they're doing it like, I'm going to make millions of dollars, so let me just put like, do crazy dances and, I'll look like a fool. Whereas something about like a 50-year-old like doing, I don't know. I find it cringy personally, but.
Is there any chance, because they are on this show, they're like, let me show you the other parts of my personality? Because I also think it's cringe, but my timeline is not full of that, right?
I'm not the audience. I agree. I'm not the audience that they're catering to, personally.
I think it's really silly. I also, I just was really surprised. Yeah. And then the fact that she actually did it, I'm like, who's watching that video? And they're like, oh my God, yeah, Shannon's so funny.
Not
or are
me.
They like, oh, look, she must be at Gina's house again.
Not me, but clearly, like, going back to that, like, if they feel confident enough to have that conversation, like I think it's kind of sad. You have to have an intervention for someone's social media presence when the presence is doing like weird shit like that. Not like, it's not always my cup of tea, but I can respect it to a certain extent of like a day of my life, or get ready with me to do this, or like something that I'm like, you doing stupid shit. I'm like, but I'm not the audience for it. So clearly there is one. I'm just not a part of it. So like at the end of the day, again, I go back to, I'm going to criticize it or say what I want about it, good or bad, because you're putting it on TV. Otherwise, I honestly don't give a fuck. So I can keep it moving. I was going to say something. Oh, the other thing I will say to that, though, whose vibe I did like and I agree with, is Tamra, who said, she does not do shit like this. However, I do agree with her. Like, you just want to be asked. I am that person. I'm like, listen, I don't have to go. I don't want to go to everything, but I want to feel included. Like, you want me to do it at least. So her vibe, though, in this part of the conversation, I am her. I'm like, I am that person. I don't want to do the TikTok dance. I just want you to think of me like you wanted to do it with me, though.
Well, I'll be honest. I was surprised by Tamra. I definitely thought she wouldn't have cared, but I do.
But she doesn't, though.
I wanted to be included.
Yeah.
Even if I wanted to say no, that's. Mm-hmm.
But that's normal. She doesn't care because she doesn't. She doesn't care about. She's like, that's not my thing. That's stupid. The only thing she cares about, though, is like, I don't want to be isolated, though, from my friends. Right. That's a thing, and like that is the relatable part, right? Yeah, it is stupid, and she's like, I would never do that, and she doesn't. However, it's just really the sentiment of like, well, include me at least. Like, at least ask me, so I feel like you give a shit about like me doing something with you. That's like this. Like, that's all I want to feel. So that I did agree with.
Especially given everything you said about last season and how she was.
Oh, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so. All right, so yes.
I was just gonna say, like, I mean, it's a transition into her party.
I like the party. My big thing I want to overanalyze is there a bone collector on Orange County?
Tamra.
See, I would have said Heather, because my question is Heather the bone collector? She's just being messy.
Well, yeah, she's just being well, that's a good question, actually. See, it depends on how you want to interpret a bone collector. See, to be a good bone collector, like a Sheree Whitfield, a la Real Housewives of Atlanta, it's you have the information and then you do something with it. You're creating story and moving story along. Heather does not move shit around. She's just, I don't know if she's messy per se. She can be in the mess. I wouldn't say she is a bone collector. Tamara, to me, if you have to pick one, would be her. I would argue she has a lot of information. I don't know how much at this point people tell her because they keep wanting. Again, this is what's frustrating. They keep wanting. It's like, we gotta build trust. I don't know if I trust you. It's like she's never done anything to be untrusting. She does her job well, which means you give her information. If it's viable to the show and the story to keep moving it along, she's gonna say it as a proper bone collector does. So I take it back. She is the bone collector of the show. Now, whether or not if she's given the bones and they trust her with them, that's a whole nother conversation right now. But she moves storyline along and does it. There's no one that does it better than her.
I think that's a good definition of bone collector because even in what you said, that explains why Jenn is doing it poorly.
Poorly. She thinks she's the bone collector.
Stuff, and then she's sharing tiny snippets. She's not... And it's not relevant. She's just talking and sharing. And then kind of the same with Emily, because Gina talked to Emily about this purse that she got and how it cost $3,000. And Emily just goes straight to Carmella. So I'm like, that's not bone collecting either. That's just kind of like a three-way call. So I think that was a good definition of bone collector.
I agree. So, yeah. What did you think about the game?
I liked the game.
I think it's funny. I'm like, you know what? I forgot who said it. I'm like, well, I think it was Shannon to Tamra. Like, well, that's a good way to like start a fight, or I can't remember how she said it. I'm like,
a very good way to start a fight. So I'm still meeting these ladies, and so I'm like, yeah, tell me what's happening, what's lurking under all of these road eyes and conversations and stuff, and I got to meet a lot of them in a different way. I got to see a lot of them in a different way. We've seen them in group settings. In fact, I feel like almost every episode, everyone gets together.
There's a lot of good, which I love, yeah.
But the game was my first time to be like, oh.
First shady game. I mean, when you think about it, okay, you all get a box, decorate it, whatever, and you anonymously drop how you feel about said person on it. I'm like, that is hilarious. Though, I mean, I agree with, I think Heather said at one point, she's like, I'm really sensitive. And I'm like, I would be too. I mean, if someone says something like, I get the point of it for the show, for sure. Is that something that I would ever do? Like, okay, everyone come over, we're going to play this game. Probably not. Because at that point, I'm like, if you have something deep to say to somebody, like some of them are like funny, whatever. But if you have something real and funny to say to someone, you shouldn't be telling them that for the first time on an anonymous note. It should be like you should be having a conversation with them.
And
if it's light shade, that's fine.
Yeah, that's just good communication everywhere. That you don't want people to be kind of like blindsided with anything. So yeah. So there was one last thing I want to talk about here, and it was a small scene, maybe not too small, but. It's Michael going to lunch with Vicki.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you know, that's actually a really big deal, yeah. I can give you context on this.
Well, okay. You've told me a little bit about her running her business and how she loves to be a business owner. I am 42 years old, and if you're watching on YouTube, you're like, you are not. I know. It's true. But I feel 27. You do not feel your age. You wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, let's run the world. 27 was one of my favorite years. Ironically, it was the year before law school. So probably before I really knew stress. But I feel 27. And so some days though, you're like, man, but my body doesn't want to do the stuff I used to do and whatever. And I was like, he's 40. Look at how young he is.
I know, he looks great.
And it was a really good check for me to be like, Kyla, you're mobile. You're able to move however you want. You're only on like prenatal, like vitamins that you want to take for fun. Like not even like, I'm like, Kyla, you are active and alive and alert. And I was watching him and I was like, look at how young he is at 40. It made me, I don't know, it like healed something in the ageism of me of being in America and like, oh, people get older and then they don't have as much stuff. And I think also Vicki talking to him and she's like, I miss my kids. I just want to spend time with my kids. Like, I don't know if that's because I'm in my 60s or what. And it was a good scene for me.
What's funny is everything you just said is accurate, yes. But it's so funny because I'm like, oh, yeah, you really don't know the show, do you?
Oh, no.
And I don't mean that sounded like a shitty thing to say. No, it's just funny because I'm like, so Vicki wanted to spend time with her kids. I've heard that time and time again. That is her. That is her. Meaning that's a beautiful thing. That's not like, oh, I'm older now, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, she's always, like, if you watch old seasons, like, they showed some of those flashbacks when she surprised him at college. It's one of the most iconic Housewives scenes. He's, like, on the couch, like, he's going to college in Colorado, and she just walks in unannounced with, like, beer, and so, woo, we're going to part, and he was, like, so pissed off. So she's always been like that. That's her daughter, like, all, like, that's no stranger. The funny thing, I like that and he does look really good. But the big thing, I think, the takeaway was how he hasn't talked to his sister in 8 years. And I have watched a lot of deep dives of why that is. And the thing I'll also say, too, is there was a time where I did not like Michael. And I realized, oh, my God, he was so misunderstood by a lot of, myself included, and fans, I think, of, like, he just came off as kind of a dick. And maybe he probably would say, like, maybe a little bit of that was true. In a nutshell, Michael, even when Vicki was off the show, sometimes, I wouldn't say he roasted his mom, but he definitely kind of did a little bit of, like, he's progressive, and his sister's husband is not. They're MAGA. They live in Oklahoma now. Her daughter used to be, like, not a star of the show, but, like, for a lot of years, she was, like, a voice of reason. Like, she was at reunions. Like, she would be at the reunion. It makes sense with all the stuff. She did not get along with Vicki's then boyfriend, the guy that lied about having cancer. Like, it's a whole thing. No way I have enough time to unpack that. That's a whole other episode. But she was kind of seen as, like, the voice of reason, and he's kind of like, whatever, the straight guy, like, dick's son, like, whatever. Boy, were we wrong as friends, and I feel bad about that, because Michael is very worldly and progressive. And we learned that he hasn't talked to Brianna in 8 years, and I've done some deep dives on this. He posted on Instagram, it's because he doesn't get along with her husband. He's a real asshole. I don't really care. He's there was a scene, and we all kind of knew that as fans. I think it's season 8 or something like that. He really showed what of a prick that he can be. And I'm not even saying that in a dramatic sense. Like, he, like, was yelling at the time, one of the cast members' elderly mom for sitting on the couch. And you have to watch. That's a whole episode. We should watch that together, because he is a real asshole, and it surprises me zero that he's a big MAGA guy.
Ryan?
Yes, her husband.
I'm Googling it. I'm like, wait, what?
There's a whole lore behind, like, since this episode aired, of, like, whoa, they haven't talked in 8 years. Like, he hasn't met 2 of her kids. Like, that's, like...
I love that I skipped that whole part because I didn't have the context.
I know. Well, that's why I was like, how do I say this? It's really cute that you're talking about his look, like, how good he looks. I'm like, wow, that is not... If you're an OG fan, he looks good, don't get me wrong. And he actually posted a shirtless photo of himself the other day, and, like, I was like, damn, Michael looks hot.
But the bigger deal was,
talk to your sister. Not even big deal.
2 of her 4 kids.
Massive deal. Because here's the thing, a little bit to what you said, to know Vicki is to know how much she loves her children, and how, like, it was a whole, like, storyline of when, like, her daughter was, because her husband is in the military, I don't know if he still is, what his deal is, but, like, they had orders to move to Oklahoma, and it, like, destroyed her. Like, she was so, like, distraught about it, like, oh my God. And, like, she even went to Oklahoma to look at houses with them. She said some not nice things about the state of Oklahoma, Vicki. So, like, when he said he hasn't talked to her in 8 years, my first thought was like, oh my God, Vicki probably is having a heart attack knowing all this. That was my first reaction. And then I was like, okay, why is it? And is it the reason that I'm assuming that it is? And for all intents and purposes, it is correct. I saw a video today that like her, like Brianna's husband Ryan, like posted some like cryptic, like shitty kind of things on his Instagram or whatever, on his private page, that kind of validates some of that. But basically, like, and Vicki is, I'm assuming she still is, I don't know 100%, but we're not politically aligned, I'll put it that way. And Michael would kind of roast her, like, and it was funny. So it sounds like Miss Brianna is kind of submissive to her husband. And from things that I've read and deep dives that I've done, it's almost like he's preventing her from having a relationship with him. So that's the reason why they haven't spoken or seen each other. It sounds like they FaceTime or whatever. But that was very bombshelly, like Housewives tea of like, what and why? And it's sad, but I'm not surprised. I got that vibe from her when she left when Vicki left the show, and Brianna, like, I would see certain things, like they have a whole like wellness website and page that gives very like RFK Jr. I think they're into all that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when people say they're into wellness now, it's so sad that they keep all these people keep hijacking all these things that we could have all embraced. Like, patriotism now is like, oh my God, I see an American flag in someone's truck, I'm like, like, we probably don't get along. When you hear someone say, like, oh, I'm all about wellness and eating right, and I have a whole, like, page dedicated to it, I'm like, oh, you're probably like Maha and all that kind of stuff. And she is. They are. So I found that very compelling that he hasn't seen her in 8 years or met two of her children. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
damn.
That's fascinating. I mean, that takes some strength to.
I say kudos to him personally. I'm like, kudos to Michael.
Yeah. Okay. Well, see, this is why this show exists. Because we are having completely different experiences watching the same show. Yeah. So I love that. Yeah. So tell me a couple things. Like, what are you looking forward to in the next couple episodes? Like, if you had to guess some things that might happen, or maybe some things you watched on the trailer, because I don't watch the trailers. I'm very intrigued and look forward to seeing what happens between Shannon and Tamra, of course. How long will it last? Will it last? Based upon interviews, it seems like things are really rocky again. I don't know. So I look forward to seeing that develop throughout the show. I look forward to seeing how Carmella gels in with the rest of the cast. While I can criticize her, I'm glad that in general that Vicki is back. And I look forward to seeing her role on the show. Again, like, she's legendary on Housewives. She started Housewives. I've already watched episode 1 of Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. The first episode is about Orange County and her. And it's it is very intriguing. I think it's very nostalgic in a lot of ways as I'm watching the season so far. It's like, while we do see flashbacks, I can't help but still think of every time they show the opening credits and it says 20th season, I'm just like, damn, I've been watching this show for 20 years. I watched this show since I was 16 in Anchorage, Alaska, where I grew up, watching season 1 and going, wait, what is this? Like, just rich ladies just getting, like, just having lunch. Vicki's running her business out of her house. Like, what is this? And I've been hooked ever since. And so I'm in this constant state of nostalgia, I feel like, watching this season in particular. So yeah, Were you watching it with your mom or anyone? Or you just stumbled upon it and were like, I watched this?
I don't know. Not with my mom. No. My mom does not watch Housewives. She only will watch it. She finds it entertaining to watch it with me. But she's not watching Housewives. And she certainly wasn't never. I don't know how I'll be honest with you. I have no memory of like how I even stumbled upon it. Other than I just remember flipping the channels. I do remember that. I remember that sentiment of like trying to find something to watch. And it was just like a what is this kind of moment. But and I don't know, like, I mean, it was season 1. I don't know what about it got me hooked, but especially then when it's a whole different show then versus now.
And a new show too.
Yeah, it's low budget. Like, it wasn't anything that you saw on billboards or anything like that. Like, it was, Bravo at that time wasn't very popular still. And this was a risk of a show that they didn't think it was going to go very far. But they captured, lightning in a bottle, and look what it's done. Like, to your point, they built an empire on the Real Housewives.
Yeah.
The Real Housewives is a brand.
And they're still attracting new audiences like me.
They're still attracting new audiences. I credit a lot of that to Salt Lake City and Rhode Island. Those are newer girls and newer franchises ish that are rewriting the blueprints. I feel like they're creating a new one, because the question I always ask myself is, especially now watching the 20th season of OC, it's like, where do you go from, like, how long does at least this particular one keep going? Like, we're gonna have season 40. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, realistically, not like as a fan. Like, I wanted to go on to the end of time. Like, there's not gonna be a season 150. You know what I mean? Like, so there is an end date at some point. It's like, when is that, and how long? Like, I suppose, like, as long as there's momentum, like, why not? But is there momentum because Vicki's back? Like, there's a lot of, like, variables that I'm still trying to feel out of, like, what is the future? And I think there's futures for newer franchises. And again, I think the Rhode Island girls and Salt Lake City and all that, like, they're creating a new path forward that is gaining new audiences. Like, it's getting a new generation of people. I think with the new cities, it does that. But when you really step outside of it, you're like, the Real Housewives as a whole and as a brand, maybe this is negative to say, I don't know, like, it can't last forever. You know what I mean? Like,
what if they let them all go to 20 seasons and then they, like, archive you at 20 seasons?
I don't know, something depressing about that.
See, I was going to say, it sounds okay for Orange County, but Atlanta just wrapped season 17, and I'm like, only 3 more years or 3 more seasons? Yeah. So I think they'll naturally find their own end, because this is August 2026, and the Real Housewives of London just started. And you were talking to me about that before, because you said there was Dubai, there used to be a Dallas, DC, and, like, they don't give that name, they don't franchise it out lightly, right?
Not anymore, at least. Yeah, not anymore, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I don't know.
Smart people
that's
about it.
I think that's more of my own personal, like, I think that's more about what's going on with me emotionally and mentally. I'm constantly thinking about, like, where do we go from here? What's next? Like, how do we blah blah blah? Like, I think so. This just happens to be a byproduct of my mental state of how long can this keep going? I would assume as long as if it's profitable, let's say, it can go on for, like, whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think I don't know if it's like a normal sitcom where you hear these stories of, like, or these, like, dramedies or whatever, like, on network TV, where they, like, you want to end the series on the highest note before it, like, stalls out. I don't know if it follows that kind of a pattern. I don't know. I don't know if it's. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's within itself is something I'm curious about. Of, like, what happens after season 20? Is there a 21? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I am curious. So.
Yeah. Well, that's a good depressing note to end on.
Yes, thanks, Dom. You can always count on me. I love the Real Housewives of Orange County, but I'm enjoying it.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching this special edition episode where we talked about the Real Housewives of Orange County season 20, episodes 2, 3, and 4. And make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so that you can see our recap of episode 5 and 6 and every other episode. So we'll talk to you later.
Bye.